Hello and welcome. So happy to have our next guest, our next session, and welcome everybody back as we continue our day. We've got Kate Marshall with SAM Institute, and really excited about the session on the future of cybersecurity and the AI era.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I wanted to start off by just noting that I am an AI optimist. So whenever I complain or I talk about what's happening in cybersecurity inside of the change with AI, I just want to note that I am optimistic. I believe the future is exciting. I believe that there are a lot of challenges that we need to navigate with these emerging technologies. But as a whole, I'm very excited for what's happening in the future and what's happening in the space. And so just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Kate Marshall. I work for the SANS Institute. I have been there almost 2 decades now, focused on curriculum development, project management, marketing, and now leading the summit events over in the NALT region. And I also run the GRAY, which is supporting executives and organizations with implementing AI and the challenges that are associated with that. So understatement of the year, our work is shifting, right? So you are seeing in the news all sorts of articles about how it is moving from optional to essential for you to learn AI in cybersecurity space, talking about how AI-powered attacks are on the rise. Trump just developed that AI plan, and the White House came out with a new plan in place where we are going to prioritize security risks and accelerate innovation and accelerate infrastructure. So there's a lot happening in the space right now. Oh, and I wanted to start off with what the next 12 months is looking like in the workforce and kind of set that tone. So you are going to see an influx of AI avatars, and avatars can be a little bit creepy, but I love avatars because they give you the ability to communicate with numerous different languages, people in different regions, and give you the opportunity to streamline communications, do it quickly, be in 5 places at once. But there's some issues and implications with that. And then moving over to AI co-pilots and the wearables, and any Zoom call I'm on now, everybody's got their AI transcribers on, and we are documenting a lot, and it's only going to get worse with the wearables, the Google Glasses, all of the things that are coming out. And then you're seeing a lot in the space talking about AI agents and automations. And I want to lean heavily on this one because you are going to start seeing that word hybrid. It used to reference somebody who worked, in the office and half online, but now that word hybrid is merging into human plus AI agent working together. So larger organizations are bringing in a ton of agents to help support the human workforce, and calling it the hybrid workforce. And it is being proven that human plus AI is doing a great job with the projects that are in hand. And I did not intend for you to be able to read this, but I just wanted to again, set the tone on what these agents are going to do inside of organizations. So this is an org chart showing you not people, but where all of the agents are inside of the different parts of the organization. And the way that it's been described to me, which I really like, is agents create like a block of Swiss cheese of vulnerabilities. So there are all sorts of different entry points and vulnerabilities and holes that come in because agents are inside of the workspace now. And it's causing a lot of issues and threats with security. Oh, and if you're looking for a really great talk that will just talk about what's happening in that space and kind of threat model what agents are doing inside of organizations right now, I just wanted to note that we ran an AI cybersecurity summit a few months ago. Helen Oakley was our one of our keynotes, and she did a really great talk on it. So in 30 minutes, you'll be able to get the scope of what exactly it looks like having those, agents inside of the space. And then moving on to some other really fun stuff. So we're seeing a lot of changes inside of robotics. So you now have robots in the operating room. And as you can imagine, all of the data and all of, the regulations that have to come with that. And when you're talking about humanoid robots, we often think like, the Tesla Optimus is $20,000 or Figures is $50,000 plus. And they're not really for the typical user, but Unitree just came out with their R1 and it's $6,000. And it's a Chinese company and they're shipping them now. And so you are going to start seeing more and more of these humanoid robots. And my last example is they're working in homes and inside of nursing homes now, and they're helping supplement the children's learnings inside of school. And so you're going to see a lot more of these technologies in the space in the next 12 months. Same thing with transportation. So drone delivery is here. You can get your Amazon package delivered by drone, depending on where you live. And robo-taxis I wanted to highlight. So Tesla just launched the robo-taxi service in Austin. It launched in June, and they're looking at scaling it out to different states within the next year. And Waymo just had a really great milestone that they hit with 100 million fully autonomous miles. And so they're looking at expanding as well. And then last example on this one is 2028 LA Olympics. You think about the Olympics out there and you think about the massive amount of traffic and what that would look like. Well, Archer Aviation has promised air taxis. So you'll be able to bypass a lot of that traffic and get into the space that way. So there's a lot happening in the transportation space. And then also physical and behavioral biometrics. So we are all very comfortable with facial recognition, fingerprints, that's how I turn on my Mac, but eye scanning is going to be more prevalent. And Sam Altman's company World just put out that eye scanning orb, mainly to defend against all of the bots that are inside of systems now. So it is a way to scan and show that you are a real human. As you can imagine, the security implications along with that, right? And then think about decentralized continuous authentication. What that essentially means is instead of putting in a password, your system understands your behaviors. It knows how you type. It knows your biometrics. It will figure out pretty quickly that I don't use my pinkies when I type. I've never been able to. That's a problem. But having these authentications with biometrics will be great for the user, but also create some security challenges as well. Now, and as I say that, people may be asking, like, what does this have to do with security overall? And I just want to set the tone that every time we introduce a new piece of technology, we expand the attack surface. And we are about to vastly expand the attack surface. Oh, I like to use this example to kind of, again, set the tone of what's happening with emerging threats in this space. So the Wright brothers, 1903 is when they took their first flight. And 66 years later, by 1969, we were on the moon. You think the technologies that they had at that time versus what we have now with exponential growth, what we'll be able to see here pretty quickly. And just driving that example home, here is the exponential growth chart. And if anybody's familiar with Moore's law, showing about the trajectory of how technologies advance over time, if you think, or you can imagine that AI essentially gives you 100,000 PhDs working on the exact same problem at one time, and what they can do with that and what they can learn and what they can build, we are about to see absolutely massive, massive growth. And again, back to that attack surface, are we ready? What are we going to do with that exponential growth? So And then you're starting to see organizations and CEOs come out and really wanting to adopt AI quickly, even at the expense of security. So this is a note from the Shopify CEO basically saying, hey, security teams, lawyers, get out of our way and figure out how to make our requests a yes, because we are going to adopt these technologies. Otherwise, the company will be at an existential risk. And so that conversation is, for one, fascinating, but also it's understandable, because you don't want to find yourself lagging behind the competition, but then you also want to make sure that you're maintaining compliance, you're maintaining security. But how do you do that in this space? No, my formatting screwed up. But basically, cybersecurity experts are tired. And if you think about how they have to manage both their mission of keeping systems secure, keeping the people secure, and dealing with the human element, but then also getting the pressures of, we want to test these tools, we need to move faster, we need to do these things. It is it's a real challenge, and it's really hard for cybersecurity experts to keep up. So we talked earlier in the panel discussion about, these are new threats, but many of them are not completely new. They are just getting harder based on speed and scale of AI. But I wanted to point out some of the threats that we're seeing and how they are exponentially increasing because of new AI tools. So the first one is AI-powered social engineering and deepfake attacks. So you're seeing phishing campaigns that are now hyper personalized, because they know you and they can personalize things at a massive scale. There's also issues regarding voice cloning and deepfake technology. And, we're streaming this, and somebody can take a little snippet of what I say and now can create a deepfake of me pretty easily. So there are conversations around that, if you have a digital version of you at all whatsoever, make sure you have passwords in place so your family, doesn't get scammed. And these are real conversations that everyone should be having if they are online quite a bit, if they have a digital avatar. But I think at any point, we are all at risk of this. And then, AI can bypass traditional spam filters and human detection, and just the scale of social engineering attacks. It's getting more and more challenging as a cybersecurity expert. So the next one is adversarial AI attacks and model manipulation. So data poisoning is a big thing. So you think about, during training phases, you can sneak bad data or bad information, into GPTs or into, your inside LLM. There's model inversion attacks, where hackers can reverse engineer the AI systems to extract information and do what they want. Or, you can trick the AI with different confusing inputs and say, no, I promise I have the security clearances to be able to do this stuff. And then there's backdoor attacks as well that we're starting to see increase in the space. And then another one is autonomous AI agents and those security vulnerabilities. So I mentioned those before, but if you think about giving these assistants access to all of your systems, because that is what they need to be able to work and to be able to function, what kind of security breaches or security vulnerabilities are you now up against? Are they learning to access areas that they shouldn't unless you have strict boundaries around them? They can be very unpredictable. Agents can work together, and figure out problems and start building something new. And so there's a lot of vulnerabilities brought in with this space when we're talking about the hybrid, the human and agent element working together. And then vibe coding and AI generated security risks. So I like to vibe code. I like playing with, lovable apps and Replit and building things. But then I look at the massive amount of code, and I don't have the skill set to tell if it's good or bad or vulnerable or junk. And, people are putting these new apps that they're creating, they're lots of fun on their phones and on their systems. And, they have not been validated as secure or not. And this is something that will continue to evolve. But this vulnerable code generation is a real problem. Also prompt injection attacks and supply chain contamination, based on code. And then developers potentially losing some of their skills when they're writing code. It used to be they'd sit down and, focus on it for hours upon hours. And now with vibe coding, there is a skill set that could be lost unless you are staying up to date and paying attention. Oh, and then lastly, these IoT is Internet of Things and these wearable AI devices and exploitations. So if you have an Apple Watch, your phone, I love my Ultra Human Ring, but it is tracking a ton of data for me, and that data can be exploited, turning all of your devices into spying tools. And especially for employees that are working from home now so much more than they were previously, vulnerabilities and exploitation is at a much, much higher level. Oh, and then so overall, many of these that you could look at this list and you go, well, those aren't really new. Some of them aren't new, but they're definitely amplified by AI. So amplified by speed and scale, all the different detection challenges, skills gap and lack of training, and then, regulatory lag and what happens to the cybersecurity frameworks and regulations when we can't keep up. And then, I love this one. I just needed a reason to put it in there. But modern problems require modern solutions. And so, yes, cybersecurity experts are absolutely using AI as well. They're using AI to become faster at threat detection and enhancing their decision making and, increasing their predictive security. So predictive models that warn against vulnerabilities before they actually become a problem have been really helpful, and they're evolving and getting better and better with time. And then just upskilling people in real time and reducing human error when there are security incidences and breaches. So the big question with all of this is, how do we prepare for this, and what are we supposed to do with this new technology? Everything is coming at us so quickly. And one of the things that I saw recently, I couldn't say it better than him, but this is a CEO and founder from Fiverr. He sent out an email to all of his people about how they should be thinking about adopting AI. And again, his advice is great. I highlighted the 3 things that I think are absolutely vital. But I recommend you go and read his full tweets on this. But essentially, it is study, research, master the latest solutions in your field, figure out what is happening in the space and stay up to date. And then understanding what the company's strategy is, making sure that you are aligning with what the overall goals are. Because if you are constantly in the no, we can't do these things, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And then lastly, don't wait for people to help you and guide you through. We have to learn these things ourselves. You have to create blocks of time to do your own training and implement and adopt these tools for yourself. Oh, and I work for SANS, and I firmly believe that we've got some great content out here. So you could spend weeks upon weeks just perusing through all of the AI white papers and blogs and webcasts and summits and all of the information that we have, learning this AI space and these emerging threats, inside of the landscape. And then also, I love pointing to OWASP as well, and even, the MITRE ATT&CK framework. And there are so many free resources and tools available. And then also wanted to share that we just came out with a poster on emerging roles in AI cybersecurity. So it was written by Rob Lee. I believe up until a couple of days ago, it was just on LinkedIn. So I threw that QR code on there, but any day now it should show up on the sans.org/AI site. But this will give you a sense of where these career paths are going, what are the greatest need, and what is happening inside of the space of AI. Oh, and then my last slide. I am incredibly passionate about this conversation, and I love talking about it. And just wanted to give everybody the opportunity to connect with me. I love hearing how you're using AI. I love hearing about, how it's benefiting cybersecurity professionals. And I've got my personal link tree on there, the Sans AI site. And then I also built a Learn AI Foundations notebook inside of Notebook LM. I did this because when people were asking, hey, what videos do you watch? What tools do you use? And it's just a really great curated place to watch videos or get the latest and greatest and be able to interact with it inside of a Notebook LM, which if you haven't used those yet, I highly, highly recommend. Oh, and there's my take.
Thank you so much. We have the first question, and the question is, as a summit director, you guide emerging leaders into cybersecurity. What key traits or career mindsets do you look for in potential panelists, speakers, or ambassadors for future events?
I think the key traits I look for are absolutely industry experts. So they need to be working in the space. They need to have their hands dirty. They need to be building the GitHub projects, but also being able to effectively communicate, what they're working on. And getting up on stage at a summit, especially, in front of thousands of people, is really, really hard to do. And so you have to have that skill set, you have to have the knowledge, but then you also, have to be able to speak it and present it well. And we also have a mentorship program specifically for that. So if you're interested in, speaking at a summit and you get accepted for the call for papers, we will actually match you with a mentor to be able to help you get to these, certain levels, because we understand that, not all practitioners are effective and great on stage. And if you're 95% head down in tech, we want to make sure that you can get more polished and guided and building slides and, setting the tone for your talks. So it's a great question.
Another question is, should companies implement mandatory proof of human verification in high-risk communications?
Mandatory proof of human. I think that is ever evolving. So I think technically, yes, and technically we will get there, but how? Especially when we're virtual. So what I'm stumbling a bit because I don't know what that would even look like with the technologies that we have right now. And you think about these organizations that have hundreds upon thousands of employees, many of them virtual. What does that look like? And so, yes, I do believe that we should, that I, for one, love the idea of proof of human, especially if we're talking about social media. I will jump on the first social media platform that is, human only, not AI generated. But what does that even look like? And I am sure that the smart minds have that sense, but I don't know exactly what that is. So.
Okay. And then another question is a fundamental question here. Our workforce will use AI with or without our approval. So what is the best way for secure teams to enable safe adoption of AI?
Yeah, I think it all starts with creating your policies and having your guidelines and setting your boundaries and making sure that they understand which tools they can use inside of work and which tools have to be used outside on different systems. So I think everybody really struggles with this because you are wanting to try new things and you are wanting to experiment and, really figure out these tools that are productive. But inside of the workforce, it's all about locking down your systems, which, for someone, I have a love and hate with that, honestly, because there are things that I want to do and it's like, oh, I got to, go do it on my personal system, but that's a good thing. But I think it all starts with policies to make sure that people understand what they can play with versus what they can't, and then constant communication, and then evolving over time. But trying to avoid the shadow adoption.
Amazing. And next question is, how do cybersecurity departments plan when AI systems are the protectors and attack vectors of the future?
Plan when AI systems are the protectors and attack vectors of the future. So that seems to me like the conversation of both the good and the bad. So they are the ones supporting and protecting, but they also create the risk and the vulnerabilities. I think that is yet another one that is outside the bounds of my expertise, but our experts need to create the boundaries inside the systems of what they can do. So
another question is, how can cybersecurity professionals balance the benefits of AI with the ethical concern it may bring, particularly regarding privacy and data integrity?
yeah, I struggle with this one myself. And I honestly think it is a very personal question to what you think. And there was a hackathon that just ended with DevPost and Bolt. I think it ended just a few weeks ago. And one of my favorite projects where they were talking about the ethical implications of AI usage. And one of the examples that they had was using famous actors' likeness inside of videos, or having, say you have an author who passed away before they finished your favorite book series. And is it okay and is it ethical for you to finish that series? I don't think anybody has figured out what that looks like. And I think it's very personal questions to ask regarding, what your comfort levels are. And I maintain privacy on social media at home for my kids because I want to make sure that, they have digital privacy for when they get older and they get to choose, how they show up online. And but I of course never judge anybody that, love to post about their children online. So again, I think I struggle with this. I think it is personal questions to answer.
Okay, maybe a last question that we can take still on is, should the use of deepfake detection tools become a compliance requirement for regulated industries? For example, finance and healthcare?
I absolutely think so. I can't think easily of a reason why we should allow deepfakes inside of regulated industries.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Okay, maybe I have another time for another question. How important is it for future cybersecurity professionals to understand AI, ML concepts and algorithms?
I think it's vital. And so that slide that I showed talking about the AI careers in cybersecurity, that is going to quickly evolve because AI is going to be absorbed in every single career. So just like now when talking about, oh, I looked something up, you don't have to specify and say, oh, I looked something up on the World Wide Web. Everybody just knows. And so I think AI is going to be integrated into every single role here pretty quickly. And if you don't understand these concepts, you're going to get left behind. Now, depending on which role you're in, you may not have to get incredibly technical and, deep diving inside of the algorithms and, the math behind machine learning. But you absolutely need to understand the foundations because you will be touching it in the future for sure.
Thank you so much, Kate, for being on this panel. We came to an end, but we have another session that is coming up with Peter, and he is going to talk about lessons from 2000 cyber interviews by an ex-CISO, and hopefully you can join us in the next session. So thank you so much for being part of this career day, and hope to stay in touch.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.